All right, a lot of chatter right now about the COVID-19 economic relief bill as we start this new month of March. Winnie Sun, Managing Director of Sun Group's Wealth Partners, joins us to talk about this and much more about your money during the pandemic. I mean, we saw it pass in the House. It's now in the hands of the Senate. But saying that, Winnie, when it comes to unemployment benefits, the stimulus check, who qualifies, where do we all stand right now when it comes to those issues?
Well, so far, Mike, it looks pretty good. Looks like there is going to be another round of stimulus check as long as the Senate passes this as is. The only thing that we know is sort of on the chopping block, and at this point, gone off the chopping block, is going to be that $15 minimum wage adjustment. So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be included in this Senate bill. And as of right now, Nancy Pelosi says if it's off the bill, the House will still pass it. So, I think that's not going to take place. They were actually trying to make it so that there was a penalty to the largest companies if they didn't include a $15 minimum wage. But everything else we're looking at, which is good. The stimulus check looks like it's still on there. It looks like also the dependents will also receive $1,400. And of course, there's other tax credits and unemployment benefits. We're just hoping this gets passed by March 14th, the big day.
Why March 14th?
March 14th, a lot of the enhanced unemployment benefits will go away. So
Okay.
that deadline is there.
When I look at household spending, consumer spending, I was kind of taken back a little bit that it's up. I thought, a lot of households out there were just saving money, but saying that, when you see those numbers, you got to think this is good for the economy.
That's true. I was really one of the things I was pleasantly surprised by was that spending was actually increasing. We knew that savings was increasing because many of us are, sheltering in place. However, that being said, it looks like there's pent up demand for goods. Now, they did show, though, this was very interesting. They did show that whenever a stimulus check became available and it started getting paid out, consumer spending went up. That's normal. That's what expected. So they're saying, well, if this next round of stimulus check comes out again, you can expect again more money to go back into the economy. The other thing is we're seeing now with vaccines coming into place, we're also seeing more positive news going in front of us as well, because there's been a lot of pent up demand of wanting to go and travel, buy things, and spend time with our loved ones. So they're saying that don't worry so much about inflation temporarily. This should be okay. We saw that today too, because bond prices actually decreased today. Markets looking great today.
Yeah, the markets are looking great today. Last week, everyone was, you know, so much concern on what's happening, as they took a lot of triple digit losses for a
Mhm.
number of days. But then you're right, as we start this new month, the markets are rebounding. So I guess the question is true or false. Should investors be worried right now with the volatility?
That's a good question. I would say that, we should always be sort of worried, but if you're invested long term and you're nicely diversified, then you should be okay. If you're worried, I would get a second opinion right now. It's a great idea. But some people are saying, like, and this is what we do with our clients consistently. Periodically, it's not a bad idea to take some profits off the table. Trim some of the positions, rebalance the areas that haven't done quite as well, and then continue to hold long term. But do really pay attention to what's happening right now because the market is doing so well. If there are certain sectors that you're overweighted on, it is time to take a little bit, trim those positions down periodically.
It seems like people are itching to get those tax returns in. My goodness, I mean, tens of millions have already been received by the IRS in that first week. Based on those numbers, do you foresee the IRS, any chatter about the IRS pushing back the April 15th deadline?
Doesn't look like it, Mike,
No.
unless you live in the state of Texas. There is that benefit there. They are allowing those who are affected because of the storm to have extended time. But everybody else, it looks like, what, that's going to be pretty ironclad. So get that, get your filing in as soon as possible. There's a lot of benefits to that.
One more for the road here, and that's San Francisco-based Twitter. We know there's changes coming to Twitter here, and I want to ask you more about them and what you think of this business model. And as I'm looking down too, their stock. I mean, Twitter stock's doubled in the last year. What's your forecast? What's your outlook on this company?
Well, it's really interesting. I would say whenever you're talking about social media, social media industries as a whole are still very much growth stories, and there's a lot of risk when you invest in technology, social media industry as it is. But I think the really fun thing about Twitter is that they're taking, obviously they've increased in user base, right? Because of the last 4 years, there's been a lot of demand, a lot of news is captured in Twitter, but they are at sort of that growth phase where they're trying to figure themselves out on how they can better monetize, and so they're creating this program called the Super Follow, right? They're going to actually launch this soon, which is going to allow some of the biggest influencers, celebrities on social media to be able to monetize, sort of like Patreon has. And they're also going to create more like micro communities, sort of like Facebook groups on Twitter. So I like this idea because I do think like social media companies have to find a way to continue to monetize and to continue to bring more users to the space. How that's going to look, I don't know, but I would say this is definitely a high risk area.
All right, copy that. Winnie Sun, Managing Director of Sun Group Wealth Partners. We appreciate the time. And maybe next Monday when we're talking here, we'll be talking about the U.S. Senate passing that COVID-19 relief bill. Have a great week, Winnie.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mike. Take care.